Number one, thanks for coming. It is a holiday, but when you're in your profession and our profession, you really don't have holidays, so that's okay. But as far as last Saturday, it was good to win. The weather is, you can never, anticipate what happened and all that stuff, but it was good to win the football game, and we think learned a lot team-wise when you look at where we need to really improve. It was good to get out and obviously play someone else besides yourselves, because we did that for 4 weeks. But there's a lot that we learned from the film. There's a lot that we can continue to learn from the film and improve on, and hopefully we've got to make a great improvement, because the test obviously gets much bigger this week. This is a great rivalry game, and one that we're excited about. Obviously, there's some other things that go along with this game this year, with playing at night, the first night game, and the throwback uniforms and all those things. But the one thing we talked about as a team is we can't get caught up and distracted into all those things. That field is still going to be 120 yards long when you include the end zones, and 53 point something yards wide, and so that's not going to change, and that's where our focus has to be, and how we prepare this week to play our best football and make a lot of improvements.
There's a number of guys. Troy had an injury. Obviously, Cam was out with an injury. Is there anyone? Can you update those guys? And
yeah,
else?
Troy, he just sprained his ankle, his other ankle, and it felt better yesterday. I think, and Mark, I think emergency-wise, he could have got back in on Saturday. He's doing a good job, and Paul Schmidt, our trainer, doing a good job with treating all those things. Cam, he tweaked his back early in the week, felt better, but still didn't just feel good enough. And, there was no sense for us to, try and put him out there where he could, prolong the recovery process, I would say.
Anyone else that was that held out for injury?
No.
Do you anticipate those two guys playing this Sunday?
Yeah, I do.
How would you evaluate your safety play? You only gave up 2 offensive plays with 20 yards or more, and I guess just how would you evaluate those guys, Gordon and Marvin Robinson, that came in Kovacs?
Obviously, I think Jordan really played a terrific football game. When you look at his production and the things that we asked him to do, I thought he played very well. He did miss 1 tackle in there, but he played well. I think Marvin, was getting his feet wet a little more in game atmosphere kind of situations, and there's a lot that with the communication that we need to have going on back there. He's got to be more vocal. He's not a real vocal guy anyway. I think Thomas played well, but there's some things that I know that he wasn't satisfied with that he needs to improve upon. But, I think he's had a tremendous camp. We asked him to do a lot because he, obviously when Troy went down, he moved into nickel and in that situation. But, I think we were okay there. I think there's a lot that we need to do a heck of a lot better this week.
Brady, Notre Dame's quarterback situation is up in the air right now. How does that change maybe what you want to do, and how much did you scout both of them versus?
Well, to me, it doesn't change anything in our preparation. I mean, they both, with the style of offense that Brian runs, I think they're both very talented. I think they'll make the decision that's best for their team, and we can't worry about that. We just got to worry about how we prepare, and I don't think it changes the offense at any type any way at all.
Coach, what's the most memorable Michigan-Notre Dame game that you've ever been directly involved in?
You know, I was looking at that, and I think I was here kind of in those odd years. We played Washington 2 years and didn't play them. I think we played UCLA 2 years and didn't play them. I think those 2 years. I think obviously in '97 year when they were inside the red zone 3 times, and defensively those guys stood up and didn't let them get any points.
Coach, earlier in the week it didn't look like Heron or Avery would start, and then they did. Did they catch the guys in front of them by the end of the week, or what happened there?
No, you know, some of it has to do with what kind of defensive set we were in. Courtney was the third corner coming in. Troy goes to nickel. Courtney comes on the field. So I don't think that played a part in it, you know, just what subgroup you were in. The other one was, you know, when Cam started hitching up with his back a little bit, you know, we had to get another guy who had some experience, some reps in the design of the defense that we were in. And I keep going back to that because it depends if we're in a dime or a nickel or our base where they all line up. But that was really the only reason.
Brady, you've got countdown clocks in Schembechler for Michigan State and Ohio. What puts the Notre Dame rivalry on a different level than those 2 games?
You know, those are Big Ten Conference games. You know, I think that's always part of it. I think in-state rivalries and obviously the rivalry in the last Saturday in November is pretty special. This is important as anything. I think this has always been a game where you get for both teams. And I remember Coach Schembechler always talking about you really get a gauge on where you're at as a team, you know, because it's always been, you know, it's going to take a national spotlight, and it is an environment where you have expectations of how your guys are going to play.
Historically, is this a game that Michigan always kind of looks forward to because of that national spotlight and because of the game?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Brady.
You said you learned a lot. Was there one thing that you were really happy with, and maybe one thing you were really unhappy with?
Well, there's probably a lot of things I was very unhappy with, but we'll leave that for later. But here's what I thought: rushing for 190 yards in 3/4 of a game. You know, that was a good thing. I think once defensively, and the defensive staff and Greg, you know, made some adjustments that needed to be made, and the pressure on the quarterback, pretty good in man coverage. We've got to be much better this week because of you know, the talent that Notre Dame has. But I thought there was a flow to the game then. You know, Heron takes the ball back, and we come back out, and it's a 3 and out. You know, so they were starting to get some flow and momentum.
Brady, you said at the top that you learned a lot. You learned a lot what you need to do and what you need to improve on team-wise. And you touched on this a little bit, but could you elaborate anything else?
Well, you know, we got to play better run defense. We got to play tighter coverage and zone. We've got to be able to pressure the quarterback with 4 guys at times, or 3 guys at times. From a defensive perspective, you know, we had some missed alignments that were based on communication that you know, you can't have, or lack of communication. So that's a big part of it. I think from an offensive standpoint, you know, we took care of the football, which was big and always will be big. But there were a couple decisions that we need to make better decisions with. We got to do a better job staying on some blocks down the field, because there were some opportunities for some other bigger plays in the run game. Our routes, we broke a couple of them off early, which, you You know, a receiver's got to be more disciplined within the scheme, especially when you're in a timing phase of your passing game. And then the kicking game, you know, our kickoff coverage will get a lot of attention from where we place the ball on the kick to how we get off blocks going down the field. And so that's huge. Obviously, we're going to give a lot of attention to PAT and field goal protection on the inside. You know, you can't get knocked back, and that was part of the one that got blocked. Big part of it was because we got knocked back out of there too much. And the other part of it would have been snap was a little high. Took the Givens a little longer to approach the ball because of that. So, you know, I could go to the punt team. I could go on and on, kickoff return, better decision in taking the ball in the end zone, getting on guys a little better. I mean, this could be a marathon, but I know I don't have the time for it, and neither do you.
On the kickoff coverage, anything that you mentioned coming off the blocks, but anything else you can cite as far as the lanes, and will we see some different personnel out there perhaps?
Well, you could, you know, I mean, obviously when you don't, it's competitive and you're evaluated. And if we're not doing the job we think we need to have, you know, from a competitive standpoint, because part of getting off blocks is being competitive and having an intensity of what you're doing. So that part of it, believe me, was addressed yesterday and will continue to be addressed during the week. But there could be some different faces on there. You know, it'll be a fun week. Let's put it that way.
Coach, right here. You
Thanks.
said previously that you want to lead your defense with your defensive line. Do you feel like they led the defense on Saturday? And can you talk about the play, how they played?
You know, I think we played okay. You know, I mean, we weren't, you know, you guys have heard me talk about hearing football. You also want to feel guys during the course of a game. And, you know, I felt number 32 during the course of the game, you know, an impact. To some degree, I thought JT, you could feel him out there a little bit. I never felt our front like we need to, you know, and not to be specific. So I think we played okay, but I think we need to play at a higher level and a higher standard. Go ahead.
Coach, you ran 39 plays on offense
Yeah.
Saturday. Is that enough to answer some of the questions coming into it, or is there any frustration that some of these things weren't resolved because you only ran 39?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's some things that are still out there, you know, and talking to Al and with the offensive staff. I mean, I think there's some things that we didn't get to in the offense that maybe we would like to have gotten to a little more. Yeah, it wasn't many plays, you know, and so I would say yes, and then we also saw some things that we wanted to get done too.